This time on fifth gear. Ow. Jonny braves the Mojave Desert's 50-degree heat and gains access to Kia's secret R&D test facility to find out just what they put their cars through in the quest for even greater reliability.
It's a torture garden for suspension.
Engineer and car customiser Jimmy DeVille shows us how a better spark can get a classic Beetle running sweeter.
Now she's got some poke. Let's go, go.
Vicky finds out if the new Bentley Continental GT has finally shaken off its footballer's car image to become a proper Grand Tourer.
It's been reworked to give you more power.
The team are joined by snooker legend Ronnie O'Sullivan to find out if the latest version of Nissan's best-selling electric Leaf is any good.
I bet you I can get around here without even touching the brakes.
And it's the battle of the sporty SUVs as the Jaguar F-Pace goes head-to-head with the Alfa Stelvio.
Come on.
In one of our legendary shootouts.
When car manufacturers want to sell a new model, they can't do enough to get it in front of as many people as possible. However, there is one part of the car making process that they really don't want you to see, and that's the development and the testing stage. Because creating a new car can cost billions. The last thing they want to do is to show the opposition their new technology and their new designs years before public release. Take this Kia Stinger GTS, for example. It's Kia's fastest ever car, and OK, it's now on sale worldwide, but not so long ago it would have been a highly classified project being tested at a top secret location such as this. Which is why this invitation is so special, because I've been granted exclusive behind-the-scenes access to Kia's test facility in California, which they share with Hyundai. It's a huge gamble for them because we have things called cameras, really big cameras, like this, and that is the last thing you want in a place like this. Nevertheless, Kia wants me to experience the torment they subject cars like the Stinger to, so that by the time they go on sale, they won't break down. This 4,300-acre desert facility costs $60 million to build. The temperature regularly climbs above 40 degrees. It's here that Kia test all aspects of their vehicles, including, unsurprisingly, the effects of extreme heat. It's divided into a series of punishing courses, so I'm going to see just how well Kia has done their homework with the Stinger and find out if it will survive some of the hottest, most grueling challenges a road car could ever be put through. In just 20 years, Kia has gone from a joke brand to selling over 3 million vehicles a year, and now they're heading into the ultra-competitive performance market with the Stinger. So I'm heading to the high-speed bowl to see if it's any sort of match for the opposition. This is Kia's flagship. Now you can buy it as a GT, which you can either get as a 2-litre turbo petrol 4-cylinder or you can get a 2.2 diesel, but this is the one to have. This Stinger has a V6 twin-turbo engine which produces 335 brake horsepower and a top speed of 167 miles per hour. It's an ambitious debut, but then again, Kia doesn't exactly lack ambition. Albert Biermann, remember his name? He was a chap that used to be involved heavily in BMW's M division. Kia decided to headhunt him and bring him across to the Korean company, and this is one of his babies. So this will have BMW M in its DNA, it just will. And then you couple that with the aesthetics headed up by Peter Schreier, a design boffin who came from Audi and a couple of other brands. What's great about this car is it is probably the first Kia in history that people want to take photographs of, and that's a big statement of intent by Kia. It's a fine looking car. At 6.4 miles, the high-speed bowl is the biggest course at the facility. Here, things like engine durability, transmission and wind noise are all tested in the blazing sun. It's just very stable. I don't feel like I'm getting much in the way of roll. Yes, I'm getting wing mirror wind noise. Vehicles pound around this track and the others at the facility thousands of times, and sometimes a single car can clock up 100,000 miles in just 8 months. Most drivers take 8 years to cover that mileage. It was the reliability that emerged from this sort of intensive testing that allowed Kia to be the first manufacturer to offer a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Each of the courses is designed to punish a different bit of the car, and later I'll be looking at how the Stinger handles extreme heat, extreme bumpiness, extreme dust and extreme corrosion. Salt water really hurts cars.
Next, we're off to Rockingham for a 5th gear team test. This is our chance to get a quick first look and drive of a brand new car. This week's special guest is snooker world champion and petrolhead Ronnie O'Sullivan.
This time the team tested the Nissan Leaf.
The Leaf is the best-selling electric car in the world, and this second-generation model claims to have an improved range of up to 168 miles fully charged. At £33,000, it's not cheap for a compact hatchback, but if you do decide to buy one, then the government will give you a £4,500 grant as an incentive to go green.
Boys, the Nissan Leaf.
It's just not my cup of tea. You know, I wouldn't be organised enough to have an electric car.
I can't even remember what the first one looked like.
Worse than this.
You impressed, Ronnie?
Not really, no. I just don't like the shape of this either, though. It's a funny-looking thing.
Why do they make them all look so just rubbish?
It's not easy on the eye.
Oh, blimey, Vix, what's all this? How far away's your plug got to be? Go on, Jason, take it to the plug. Go on, plug it in my car, please. Where do I put this then, Vix?
Well, this is where the nose section comes in handy.
Hey, I need your
Here we
charger.
go. Here's your flap.
Oh, that's
I like
what that little hole's
Yeah.
for.
That's nice.
If you do take the plunge, Nissan will gift and install a car charger for free in your home, as long as you can plug the car in while it's parked off-road.
But yeah, I mean, I can see it catching on with a lot of people.
Is it leatherette or leather?
I don't know.
think it's
This is
leatherette,
definitely
isn't it?
carbon fibre-esque.
Did you know inside it's okay?
It's all right.
That's a nice little car, isn't it? Round town,
Yeah,
doing a school
yeah.
run, isn't it?
It's quite neat, quite funky. I've just turned it on. I can't hear anything.
Do you know what? For old people, it's all right, isn't it?
Let's ask them.
It's only
Tiff?
joking. I mean, I'm old now.
Right, boys.
Oh, God. That whole thing of no noise and that move off is just very strange.
Many people are put off electric cars by the limited distance you can travel on a full charge. Pootling around at 30 miles an hour is one thing, but motorway driving generally lowers the range significantly. So today we're testing that out. I'm fully charged and going to pretend we're on a motorway and drive it 3 times around Rockingham's oval track using any of the car's equipment that we need.
All 4 of us in, aircon on, you know, a real-life kind of test.
Is that how you drive normally? This is supposed to be a normal drive, and you just go...
Well, she's mental, that's why.
I was going a little bit quickly because, honestly, I don't know how to drive slowly. I have a problem with it. I bet you I can get around here without even touching the brakes.
Actually, that's not as alarming as it sounds, because in e-pedal mode, every time I lift off the accelerator, the car slows automatically.
Say you go to 80 accidentally and you've got to lift off back to 70. Does it gently brake?
Well, that's 70. That's how
Yeah,
you
it's
slow
slowed
down.
quite gently,
It's
yeah.
quite gentle. So the e-pedal basically regenerates any braking that you have and puts that power back into the battery. I've still not touched the brakes.
See, now that is odd.
Nissan claims that when you switch to e-pedal mode, it'll increase your driving efficiency around town by about 90%.
Are you a fan of regenerative braking, Ronnie?
I think it's all right, yeah. I think it'd be all right.
Yeah.
Round town, yeah, I think it saves you hitting the brake. You can just... makes it a bit more fun as well.
So you need to brake for this corner now, or is that just regen?
I'm regen.
That means that the
Just
brakes
regen.
Yeah.
That's quite a lot of braking, isn't it?
Wow, look at that.
Electric cars have great acceleration because the maximum amount of torque is available from 0 mph, unlike petrol or diesel cars, whose torque gradually builds with the engine revs. So what's this Leaf like?
Lights are green. Go, go, go.
Yeah, the acceleration's quite good, though, isn't it?
Well, you've got 320 newton meters of torque.
Very rolly, though, isn't it, in the back?
It was heavy, you see. That's the point. You can't get away from the fact that
electric cars are heavy still.
Anyway, our 3-lap test drive is up, so it's time to see how much life is left in the battery.
So what's the mileage now?
I started with a range of 161 miles. I've travelled 10 miles, and it's now down to 123-mile range.
What? We've lost 38 miles of range.
Yeah, and only done
10 miles.
Yeah.
Could have been struggling if we'd have been out on the open roads and been tearing around in it and wouldn't have been able to get to a station to charge the car up.
That's just going to cause you stress, isn't it?
OK, we were simulating a thirsty motorway drive with 4 adults on board. Plus, we slung in an acceleration challenge. But in our test, the Leaf would only cover about a quarter of its advertised range. It's cheap to run, though. Nissan claims a full charge costs about £1.20.
I mean, the Nissan Leaf isn't for me, but I guess as an electric car, it gets 6.
I really wish that this car was more dynamic to drive and to look at, but it's not. I'm going to give it a 5.
I do like that it's not a big car, it's a small car. I can imagine you can have some fun in it. So for that reason, I'm giving it a 5.
I don't like it. It's not, it's just electric cars I don't like. So I'm going to give it a poor 3.
Which gives the Nissan Leaf a team test score of 19 out of 40.
Coming up, it's the battle of the sporty SUVs.
It's a joy to drive.
And Jonny hits a yellow brick road with a difference.
God, that is really horrible. It's horrific.
Now it's time for a shootout. The mission is simple. I put 2 performance cars head-to-head to discover which is quickest around our Anglesey track. Today we are featuring 2 manufacturers renowned for producing sporty cars. Both have recently added an SUV to their lineup, so the question is, do they deserve their famous badges, and which is quickest? This is the Alfa Romeo Stelvio. Prices for this automatic 2.2 diesel model in all-wheel drive start at £38,000. It produces 210 brake horsepower, which is good for a 0 to 62 time of 6.6 seconds. And this is the Jaguar F-Pace. Prices for this automatic 2-litre diesel with all-wheel drive start at £39,000. Its 180 horsepower motor will get you to 62 miles an hour in 8.7 seconds. Let's get this show on the road, and I'm starting with the Alfa.
The key to the Stelvio's performance is its weight. It's only 1,660 kilos. And you can feel the benefits in the handling as well. It's nimble. Even when I'm cornering, the car's, it's alive. And it's rock solid on the brakes. Wow. This is impressive. Now, not all Stelvios come with 4-wheel drive, but this one does. Most of the time, it's delivering all the power to the rear wheels, but it can chuck up to 50% to the front axle, if it needs it, if the rear's struggling.
Which the car does automatically. There are 3 driving modes to choose from, and I'm in D for dynamic.
Time for a fast lap. Smooth it all off. Let's see what lap time we can get. It's really precise. It's very easy to put the car exactly where you want it. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Do you know what? This is a very, very good little car. I love it. Well done, Alfa.
The Stelvio crosses the line in 1 minute, 26.8 seconds. Now for the Jaguar F-Pace.
Now, on paper, it hardly feels worth it pulling this out of the garage because it's 30 horsepower down on the Alfa and weighs 120 kilograms more. In fact, the only thing that's comparable is the price. But one thing that almost every Jag does well is handle. And the engineers have not based this car on some bloated 4x4. Instead, the chassis has been developed from their sweet handling XE and XF range, so it's got a good feel to it. It certainly feels more nimble through the mid-phase of the corner than the Alfa. And Jaguar have got the torque vectoring system off their F-Type sports car, which every now and then, depending on how the car's cornering, it might just apply a little bit of grab to one of the inside front wheels. It just helps the car turn a bit better. And it's very, very good. So, let's get it all nice and tidy, and let's do a quick one. Start the watch.
By the first checkpoint, the Jag has fallen behind by just over a second.
You know what? It's a joy to drive. It doesn't struggle to get around tight corners. You know, it still keeps turning. It doesn't plough into understeer.
However, that's not helping the lap time, and by the second checkpoint, the F-pace is 2.5 seconds back. Could it recover anything by the finish?
Come on, get it tidy. Here we go. And stop the watch.
The answer is no, because the F-pace crosses the line in 1 minute 30.2 seconds, a hefty 3.4 seconds slower than the Stelvio. So, if you're looking for an SUV and speed is what you're after, save yourself £1,000 and go for the Alpha. Now it's time to rejoin Jonny in California as he goes behind the scenes of Kia's top secret testing facility.
I'm in the Mojave Desert getting a chance to see the extremes that modern car manufacturers put their cars through before they get to the dealerships. This is called the VDA, which stands for Vehicle Dynamics Area. This is a 45-acre pad of tarmac in which deeply scientific experiments go on, and there is no one else on it, so I guess it's a good time to do some of my own scientific experiments, yeah? The VDA is a massive playground where cars can be subjected to all manner of violent manoeuvres, such as extreme braking and cornering tests. It seems my particular experiment would punish the tyres rather than the car itself, so I was asked to stop. On to the next round of torture for the Stinger. Here we go, we're going to go over a rumble strip and then in. Can you hear the sound difference of that? This is replicating Highway 5, Highway 10 and Highway 710 in Los Angeles. 3 of the most notorious, busiest, nastiest, I guess, highways. The LA Highways Authority actually closed down sections of the real roads so that Kia could accurately measure them. So they can tune a car's suspension in the case of this Stinger. Got independent rear end, adaptive damping. In fact, if I stick this into comfort mode, there, bit more of a pillowy ride. Kia's prototypes will be driven along this section thousands of times to assess wear on the suspension components and to see what it takes to suppress noise and vibration. Ah, and breathe. 1.25 miles of discomfort. Next, I wanted to find out the effect that these burning hot temperatures have on individual car parts. An average car has 30,000 parts, but some get exposed to the sun more than others. It's now 50 degrees centigrade, by the way. This place is called the MWF, the Material Weathering Facility. It is where parts of cars come to get punished by UV. They sit, as you can see here, on tables and in cases that track the sun to get maximum amount of heat and UV and see whether they can cope. It's weird. It is like a gigantic Airfix graveyard. Everywhere you look, there's just Kia bits that they're trying to hurt intentionally. Because you never know. You don't want to put that on a car and in 2 years it's dead. That would be rubbish. Those things over there are ridiculous. Those cases. You want to go and look at these? There's interior bits in there getting baked to death. Hopefully not death. Hopefully not, because then that means they're good. Parts sit here for between 4 and 6 months to see if they'll warp, fade or crack, and occasionally they do succumb to Mother Nature. So before I did too, I decided to move on and visit, oh the joy, Yet another suspension test. This area is called the durability loop, and really it's a torture garden for suspension. This is 17 miles an hour on this surface. It's like raised block paving. It's horrific. It's really punishing on suspension bushes, suspension links, track rod ends, and also interior components, like everything that's clipped on, really, that suffers from fatigue. Oh, that is really horrible. Oh, OK, that was a bit soon after lunch, that. Frankly, I'd had enough after about 30 seconds. Kia subjects their cars to this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for months on end. Now, you'd think that only the four-wheel drive models are subjected to this. Not true. All of Kia's models are put through this. The point of this is a desert dirt road that's uneven and it's extremely dusty. It does two things here. We're testing for, again, suspension wear and suspension damage, but we're also testing for dust ingress. Dust and sand is a killer. It accelerates the wear of so many mechanical components. It is one of the biggest nemesises of the internal combustion engine, actually. After all that, my sandy Stinger needed a wash. Except, of course, this isn't a normal car wash, because the water that's coming out of these sprinklers isn't fresh water, it's seawater. This is simulating pretty much parking a car next to the seafront in a seaside town in a really stormy, angry day. And as you know, sea spray and salt water really hurts cars. This corrosion test subjects vehicles to a wet salt spray, followed by drying in high temperatures. This test lasts for weeks and weeks on a constant cycle, and it mimics the weather extremes of coastal environments. Salty, salty badness. Note to self, don't ever buy a car second-hand from a seaside town. It's just not worth it. Join me later when it's not just the car that gets subjected to extreme temperatures. It's bizarrely hot and it's just ridiculous. But I do too. I feel so sorry for my pants and trousers right now.
Next up, Vicky's behind the wheel of a new Bentley to find out if he can finally combine luxury, performance and effortless ground covering ability in one package.
This is the new Continental GT. Take note of those two little letters on the end because they're quite important.
GT means Grand Tourer or Gran Turismo if you're Italian, which clearly I am not. The Italians pretty much invented the GT class. Cars that handled better and were faster than saloon cars and yet were more comfortable than sports cars. They were machines you could use effortlessly to blast down to the south of France in comfort and luxury, and then hoon around the mountains once you got there.
In the 1950s and 60s, Ferrari, Aston Martin, and indeed Bentley were all busy making successful GTs. But eventually, Bentley's sporty coupes all but disappeared as they focused less on performance and more on luxury. Fast forward to 2003, and new owners VW gave Bentley the green light to start building GTs again in the shape of the Continental GT.
It was a huge success, particularly with footballers. Yes, it could carry you and your luggage with elegant ease, but it was based on Volkswagen's undynamic Phaeton. So, although it looked like a Bentley, underneath it was just a fast Passat.
Consequently, corners were not its forte. Less than ideal for a car sold on sporty credentials.
However, the signs are looking good for the new Continental GT. Bentley is still owned by Volkswagen, but this time around there was a co-development with the Porsche Panamera, and Bentley engineers were involved from the off.
This is the result of that dream design team. The exterior is sleek and sophisticated, with elegant lines that hark back to the original Continental of the 1950s. And the interior is pretty special too. Inside there is a feast for your senses. There's leather, wood and lots of shiny silver bits everywhere. This is a diamond knurled finish and it is incredibly tactile, but, dare I say it, a little bit tacky. This is the biggest touchscreen that Bentley has ever produced and it does the coolest thing, and this is what you will be showing your friends when they come into the car. It's so James Bond. And then at the end of the day, magic. On the road, the Continental is more of a cruiser, but you could sit here for days on end and emerge totally unruffled. The seats cool you, they heat you, they massage you. What more do you want? This Bentley also has a rather nice sound system, courtesy of top British hi-fi makers Name, but it is a pricey option at £6,500. Like most GTs, the Conti GT is a 2+2, so the rear seats are fine for kids and hat boxes, but forget about taking 4 adults on a blast through Europe. So we know Bentley can do the luxury part of a GT. But, and this is a really big but, has it nailed the other side of the GT coin? I want to find out if it can turn into a proper sports car when you need it to. And I know just the place to test it. Under the bonnet is the same 6-litre W12 engine as before, but it's been reworked to give you more power. 626 bhp now. 0 to 62 comes up in 3.7 seconds, which is pretty impressive. Yes, this car has been slimmed down from the previous Continental, and the power-to-weight ratio, therefore, is slightly better, but it's not supercar status statistics. There's an 8-speed dual-clutch gearbox which works incredibly quickly, so one gear is ready for you almost before you need it. It has electromechanical variable anti-roll bars and a 3-chamber air suspension system, and it works incredibly well. Bentley says that that gives this car the comfort of an S-Class, yet the agility of a 911. Now, I agree with the first part, it is incredibly smooth. However, this still feels like a big, weighty beast. There's a torque varying 4-wheel drive system that sends most of the grunt to the rear wheels, but it still doesn't behave like a true rear-wheel drive sports car because of its sheer size. And when it comes to braking, you can really feel that it weighs almost 2.5 tons. Oh, brake. Whoa, tiger. Bentley has done a fantastic job in improving the handling of the Continental, but it is still no Porsche 911 on the track. So, whilst this new Continental GT has made a big step forward, there are more thrilling cars I'd rather spend my money on and time in.
Right, let's get over to Jimmy DeVille's workshop, where he's going to show us how simple it is to add performance to almost any car.
These are jobs that we can all do, to the motors we love, from the comfort of our own garage.
Come on, you can't afford not to watch.
This time, I'm going to show you how to replace a car's crucial ignition system, using this iconic 1972 VW Beetle.
I love the Beetle for that rear-mounted, air-cooled bundle of joy. But of course, I also love them for their quirky looks. However, their ignition systems can be a weak spot, so this is the perfect car for me to show you what mods can be done.
The ignition system creates that all-important spark that turns fuel and air into power. Put simply, without the ignition system, your car wouldn't move. And if it's not working properly, your car will be way down on power and performance. It might look complicated, but anyone can have a go. And this work can apply to many cars out there.
If we have a look at this engine, there are a couple of really good, clear signs that it could be struggling with its ignition. The first one is this blistered paint on the rear valance, and that's come from too much heat coming from the exhaust, and that's because of the poor ignition. The engine is having to work hard. For the second one, we're going to need to listen to this engine. Paul, fire her up. Okay, if you listen to the idle, you can hear that it is really struggling and kind of spluttering, and it almost cuts out, and that's come from poor ignition. Paul, that'll do. Let me show you the problem. Now, this is a distributor, and inside we have a rotating arm, and that sends a spark down the HT leads to the spark plug where they ignite the air-fuel mix inside the cylinder. It sounds kind of simple, but to make that happen, there are lots of mechanical parts. First ones being these, the points. Now, these are kind of like a switch, and they have to open a precise amount at an exact moment to make sure the spark is delivered exactly when the engine needs it. And it's the mechanical nature of these that can go wrong, so that's exactly what I'm going to be modifying.
First things first, you need to unplug all of the high tension or HT leads from the cap. And because this Beetle has 4 cylinders, there are 4 HT leads.
Then I take off distributor cap, and then all I need to do is undo one bolt, and this distributor slots clean off.
Next up, undo the 2 bolts that secure the coil. This is the device that boosts the electrical charge provided by your car's battery.
So a coil turns 12 volts into 50,000 volts, and that's the sort of voltage you need to ignite the air-fuel mix.
If your ignition system has been misbehaving, then there's a good chance that the spark plugs will be damaged. So the next step is to check these. And what do you know?
If you look at it, it's all black and sooty, and if your spark plugs look like this, definitely change them out. Something as simple as changing your spark plugs every couple of years is a job really worth doing. It'll keep your engine running absolutely sweet.
So, with all of the old bits out, the Beetle is now ready for a brand new ignition kit. A fresh set of HT leads, plugs, coil and distributor costs around £95.
Now that we've got the old distributor out, we can see the difference between it and the new one. Now, the old one is completely mechanical, so as that rotor arm turns round, it opens and shuts the points. And it's within this that a mechanical fault can occur, giving us bad ignition. The new one, however, has none of that. It uses this, a Hall effect sensor, and that uses magnetism to detect the position of the rotor arm, giving me a spark exactly when I need it. And that's why this is a great improvement. OK, on to fitting the new parts. And it's pretty much the reverse of taking it all off using exactly the same tools. So first job, new spark plugs back in the engine.
Once those are screwed back in, you can then attach the new HT leads to each of the plugs and bolt in the shiny new coil. Once that's done, it's time to fit the electronic distributor.
When I took it off, I made sure I took note of the rotor arm, and it was pointing in that position, so hopefully this will engage just where it needs to. Nice and firm down, and that rotor arm went straight in place. Now it's time to reconnect my HT leads. So it's cap back on.
But before you can tighten the distributor bolt for good, there's one final job left to do. Timing. To do this, you need a strobe gun, which hooks up to one of the HT leads and fires a light in time with the ignition spark.
You start it up.
You then point the gun at 2 timing marks, one that's on the big crankshaft pulley and one that's on the crankcase. They should line up, but if not, you twist the distributor slightly until they do.
That's the timing set. Now you can really hear the difference with that idle. This engine is now running as sweet as a nut.
Time to take this VW Beaut out for a spin.
Oh, I tell you what, that ignition. Woo-hoo-hoo! Well, the first thing to note is it works. It's peppy, it's perky, and that's because the new ignition system provides a better spark, giving me a way better burn in the cylinder, and that equals more power, and I can use it right here.
Conversion kits like this are available for many petrol cars fitted with conventional mechanical distributors. And the job took less than an hour and cost less than £100.
Now it's time for a quick break, but don't go anywhere because coming up, the heat is on as Jonny heads to the hottest place on Earth, all in the name of car testing.
We're up to 68.
68 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
Is
so
that safe for me to go in there?
Maybe.
OK, let's head back to the US of A where Jonny is taking car testing to the extreme.
It's day 2 of my exclusive access to Kia's secret R&D centre in the Mojave Desert. And overnight, I travelled 200 miles north to the hottest place on Earth, Death Valley. I'd been told I could actually do some test driving as part of a development programme, though they didn't really reveal full details. All I'd been given was an address just outside the small town of Beatty. Yesterday we were at the secret Kia testing proving ground, but this is actually ultra secret, where they do the ultra hot testing. And we're in this random unmarked garage. There's some important discussions going on to do with the testing of the cars they're doing. There are lots of Korean engineers over from Kia HQ. But this car here interests me. That is a genuine pre-production mule of a forthcoming Kia model, and I'm going to get to drive it and do some R&D. Very cool indeed. Maybe cool's not the right word, but anyway, a few minutes later, I was on the road in my car with no name. This particular car is clad in a plethora of bizarre lumps and bumps. The reason for that is because it hasn't been revealed yet. This car is pre-production. They don't want to show you what the finished exterior is like. They don't want to show you what the finished cabin looks like to prying eyes. I've got a control board here with 4 switches, and these switches individually take huge amounts of data at different intervals, and all of the wires that are taped to both the dash, down in the footwells, on these really weird bits of plumbing behind each headrest, all of this is air temperature. And in addition to measuring passenger comfort, another bank of sensors are monitoring things like the engine, transmission, oil and water temperatures. Basically, I'm driving a lab on wheels, and out here one system, more than any other, is working overtime. Death Valley is one of those places where pretty much the air conditioning will be used at its maximum potential, which is this, all the time. Why would you use the air conditioning anything other than maximum when the temperature outside is like 50 degrees Celsius? It's just stupid out there. It doesn't look it on camera, but it is stupid. Stupidly hot. You don't want to break down here. I don't know what you do if you break down here, because you don't really have accurate phone reception, and there aren't really many settlements. Although I say that, and we're about to go into a settlement. The settlement in question was Stovepipe Wells, the epicentre of Death Valley, and the location of my next R&D stop. This is a very strange place. This is sea level. We are at sea level now. And that's what makes this place so hot. It's super low, and it's in a dust bowl. The man I'm meeting is Lee Foster, Kia's Senior Thermal Systems Manager. I'm 6'3", by the way. Lee, you're the man that's made me stop in this one-horse town. Maybe 2 horses, I don't know. What am I going to do?
Well, we're here to do a hot soak test. So we're going to heat up this car to about 60 degrees Celsius. It takes about an hour.
Okay.
After it heats up to that temperature, you need to get in it quickly without letting the heat out. And then as soon as you get in, you turn on the air conditioning, and right away, you're going to go up this hill. And the hill goes from sea level where we're at now to about 5,000 feet over about 17 miles.
Wow, okay, so quite an elevation.
Yeah, it's a severe test.
What are you going to do? Time how successful the air conditioning is at bringing down the cabin temperature?
That's correct. So we look at how fast the air conditioning comes down, how cool the powertrain is.
Yeah.
So if the engine cools down properly, how much power you have, and there's no torque reduction.
In the meantime then, while we're waiting for this to bake, can we go somewhere a little colder?
Oh, absolutely.
My face is going to fall off in a minute. Going to have to walk like this. An hour earlier, we'd put a temperature sensor in the car, and as I got ready to set off, Lee gave me some really cheery news.
Okay, Johnny, we've had a good soak.
Yeah.
We're up to 68.
68 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, that's a good test.
Is that safe for me to go in there?
Maybe.
I'm hot out here, let alone in there. Right, so
find out.
Go in, turn on the ignition, whack the AC up, maximum, leave.
There you go.
All right.
Good luck.
Do I need to fill any forms out before I do this?
Oh, it's too late.
Look, I'm not going to mess around because the more I talk, the hotter it gets. It's now at 69. We're going to go in and drive a car and try not to die in Death Valley. 3, 2, gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this. Go. Oh. Oh my goodness, the seatbelt's actually burning me. The steering wheel is really, really hot. I'm gonna have to put my shades on, I'm so sorry. Actually, my shades are burning the bridge of my nose. Oh. The only thing I wanted to do right now was jump into a bath of cold water. But I was Kia's test driver for the day, so I had to press on. Aircon is on full chat. Ow. And, ow. Oh my goodness, I've never had perspiration fall out of me so quickly. So the outside is 48, 49 degrees. Inside is still 70. I needed the AC to kick in or I was going to melt. And it would also pay me to crack on because for every 1,000 feet that I climbed, the outside temperature would drop by 2 degrees C. So that's 10 degrees cooler by the top. Just seen a sign that we passed then that said, danger of overheating, turn off AC. Not a chance. Not a chance. Look at my head. In fact, air conditioning systems can work the engine up to 15% harder, which increases its temperature. But if the vehicle can survive this, it can survive hot conditions anywhere in the world. I feel so sorry for my pants and trousers right now. As I pass the 1,000 foot mark, finally, some good news. Down to 68. Hallelujah. Down to 68 degrees, goodness me. 68. Just to remind you, we are still talking centigrade, or 154 Fahrenheit if you prefer. My foot on the throttle pedal is actually burning. It's got so hot, I'm having to let off the throttle and just arrest it a little bit. And I wasn't the only one suffering, because I also had the poor cameraman on board with me. How are you feeling?
It's warm. I'm sweating like that.
Your face looks like a water feature. It's amazing how the body can cope with such extreme stress. But by the time we reached the top 10 minutes later, the AC had finally won the battle. There you have it, 17 miles, 5,000 feet of elevation. I've managed to get the interior of that Kia down to 34 degrees. Trust me, it feels like a fridge in there now. Having witnessed firsthand the incredible lengths Kia goes to prepare their cars for just about anything, it's no wonder people take their product very seriously these days. They've come a long way in 20 years, and it looks like this manufacturer still has plenty of ambition left.